Welcome to Hustle and Healing, the Real Talk podcast on pregnancy, postpartum, and motherhood. I'm your host, Jessica Lauser, here for the raw stories, honest laughs, and everything in between. Let's dive in.
It's definitely intimidating because it's so long ago that you're like, I don't remember doing this in school. Like, I know the knowledge is here and I might use it like a little bit, like, in day-to-day life, but there's so much, it's like introducing algebra almost. It's like beginner stages of learning algebra, but there's like tons of fractions, decimals. It's not fun.
So you're just doing it by the book? Like just follow?
Yeah, now that I got this new stuff, we're using a book. Yeah.
What's the, like, because you went from deschooling to this new program now?
Yeah.
Is it program curriculum?
Are we like doing the...
So we'll get...
You gotta let me know. I thought we were going to do like an introduction or something.
So we're rolling into it.
I was like, wait a second. Is this the content?
Saying this is the piece that Rob will edit out.
Okay.
But we'll go ahead and we're going to dive in.
Okay.
So I want to welcome everyone to Hustle and Healing. And today we have Lauren Mayo with us today. Thanks for joining us, Lauren.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
I'm excited to be here.
I know. Like I kind of am starting all of the podcasts, of which I've only done one so far. This is number 2. I keep telling everyone this is just an opportunity for me to, 1, hang out with my friends, or 2, meet new people, because eventually I'll be able to just kind of reach other moms in the area, in the community. So, tell the listeners just a little bit about yourself.
Okay, so I am a mom of 4 daughters, including twins, ages 2 to 10. First year of homeschooling for us while my husband, John, is deployed. First deployment for us too. So it's a big undertaking.
And he's been in the military for how long?
12 years.
And then the year you decide,
I know,
the year you decide to homeschool, it's like, but there was contingents on potentially going out of the country and like all military.
Yes.
Just kidding. You're not.
It all kind of happened all at once and all because of each other. So because we were supposed to be moving to Spain, that was ultimately why I decided to do homeschooling, because we didn't want to take them out of school mid-year and start over somewhere else. And I had, for like a year prior to this, been thinking about homeschooling and just really didn't have like the motivation to make that jump, because I was like terrified. I was like, do I want to spend that much time with my kids? Because that time that they are away at school, I'm sure you know this with Trip and Josie, like you're working. But that time that you have while they're at school is like important time for you to be yourself and like do the things you need to get done.
Yeah.
Like cleaning the house for me, because I am a stay-at-home mom. I forgot to mention. I guess that's obvious since I'm homeschooling. But yeah, just simple things like cleaning the house is just completely different with the kids being homeschooled.
Right, because now they're trying to learn and take a little break, and then you're trying to like also do all the home things. So how did that transition work for you? Like, what has that looked like so far?
It's been really tough. Just kind of as I expected it to be, and I think anybody could expect that to be a big transition, to go from having the kids away for, 6 hours a day. Is that what it is in public school? It's about six hours a day, to having them literally on top of you for the entire day, 24 hours a day. And especially now, because I am, solo parenting right now while John's away. So I really don't get any breaks ever. Aside from, the fact that since I'm from here, all my family, all my support system is here. That's like the one major piece. Like I can't complain too much because obviously, this is a military community. There are a lot of families that aren't from this area who are going through the same thing and don't have that support system. So I definitely feel lucky that I have that because like right now, my mom is at my house watching the kids. Some people don't have it that easy. So I really don't feel like I can complain too much. But yeah, the transition from public school into homeschooling has been pretty tough on me and the kids. And, at first they enjoyed it because they were like, yay, like we don't have to go back to school. This is going to be great. But then once they realized what we were doing, it's time to sit down and do schoolwork, it was like a whole different ball game because they're like, oh, now mom is the teacher. Like this isn't just going to be fun.
Yeah. Like how do you kind of have that light switch of like, I'm the teacher, I'm the mom, or does that blend? And then you also created a space in your home to really focus on school.
Yeah.
Is that how it started, or did that evolve where you realize like, well, we need to maybe not go to the kitchen table and now we're going to have a separate room where it's like their desk?
Yeah. So we started out just working around the kitchen table, which, I thought would be harmonious and like this beautiful thing. And it sort of quickly evolved into homeschool taking over the center of our home. And that was, I think, too much for all of us. And it was like very clear to me that we needed a space specifically for school. And that kind of helped me at least to be a little more organized about it. So we could keep all of our homeschooling stuff out of the main space of the house. Because it was like when we were at the dining table, we would do work at the dining table and eat at the dining table and like gather around the dining table. And it was just like all blending into one. And it was just sort of becoming too much. Then it was like kind of like the whole day was about school. So I, had to sort of separate that, and that's been better.
Yeah. What are you enjoying about homeschooling?
It was really hard for me when they were in school. It was really hard for us to get out the door in the morning. As you can imagine, I'm sure, because you have 2 kids, you know how hard that is to get out the door in the morning. But with 4, it's just extra for each kid extra. It's that much more time you have to add on to getting people dressed, getting people fed, brushing teeth, brushing hair, like finding socks, finding backpacks. And then on top of that, I have Camilla, my oldest. She has some learning disabilities, like ADHD, anxiety. And so we had to deal with that getting out of the house in the morning, which was really a challenge. Some days she wouldn't even get to school. And I think that's something we could expand on because people might hear that and be like, oh, well, mom's not doing her job. Like you can't get your kid to school. But there were some real struggles like for her, to overcome anxiety to get to school. So for me, that piece of it has been really nice to not have to have that fight. There were, sometimes we would just day after day have battles with the kids going to school. And it wasn't just Camilla, it was the other ones some days too.
Sure.
So just that struggle to get out the door was really, really tough for us. And it's been nice to just wake up on our own time and like, go slow, have a slow morning.
I don't think I truly understood. Like I'd always heard you talk about like, get out the door. And when I had one kid, it was like, okay, you just get them out, right? And then it's fine. And then now I'm balancing Josie and Trip and the breastfeeding and, well, we want to do this. And now Trip is like, well, I need a banana. And now I actually want to start packing my lunch. So as of 2 days ago, we have a packed lunch kid who's going to school. Or for a long time, it was, well, I don't want to get dressed. I don't want to wear this shirt. I don't want that. I want to pick my shirt. And then when he would go to pick the shirt, it was the wrong shirt. And that turned into like, well, daycare says you have to get here at this time or you can't come. So you are like forcing the change and your day now is starting off like heightened with, man, that is not really how I wanted to spend my morning.
Yeah. And it can become a negative experience for your kids too, because they're having that struggle and they see you're stressed out and they feel your stress, and that can be like a negative start to their day. So, you know, to be able to mitigate that stress out of our day has been really nice for me. And, you know, I know not every family has the privilege to do homeschooling, so I feel really lucky about that, because it is, you know, a sacrifice. You know, a lot of families don't have that option to have one parent at home. And you know, kind of have to give up on having a career if you want to stay home. So I do, you know, feel fortunate that I even have that option.
Yeah. Well, and I think that they love being around you too. Like you have such a good relationship with the girls that being able to have you lead and they respect you and to get into that. So it probably was more of a, how do I learn like the materials? You know, it's not like, and then I think you had mentioned something about you really got to learn about them through this experience. I don't know if you're comfortable sharing about kind of like what those learning pieces have been.
Yeah. Well, you know, when they're going to school, it's like you just kind of shuffle them off out the door, and then teachers kind of deal with them at school, you know, like they're learning and the teachers spend all that time with them, and you sort of miss out on that piece. They come home, you got to do their homework with them, and you're like, you're struggling through homework, and it's like, why can't you do this? Like, didn't you pay attention at school? Like, you know, do I have to do all the homework for you? And that can become a battle. And you're just sort of wondering like what's going on. But now I have that piece removed and it's all on me. Like I work with them, you know, through the day, and I can see, you know, where they're struggling. And so for Camilla, I've learned a lot about how she learns, for all of them. But, you know, Camilla being the oldest, she's expected to learn more than the younger ones. So I've really realized, you know, how learning is hard for her. Not that she's really intelligent, and she like learned she learned vocabulary and everything really quickly when she was younger. So I always knew that, but she's really struggled to focus like in school. And we did have to get her a 504 last year when she was in public school, which is a learning plan. And she still struggled even after that. And a lot of teachers don't necessarily abide by a 504 plan. There's 504 or an IED. And so after we got her ADHD diagnosis, we, you know, spoke with her teacher and the principal at school about that. And her teacher had, you know, on several occasions come to us and said, you know, she's taking 3 hours to do her math test, or she hasn't completed her test, or she would be getting in trouble for these, you know, doing these things at school where she's just fidgeting constantly and she couldn't, you know, sit still or pay attention to what she was supposed to be doing. And, you know, all I knew was what they told me, and I couldn't see what was actually going on. And then what the doctor told us, you know, like, yes, she has ADHD, so she's struggling this way. But now that she's home and I'm in control of her learning, I can really cater all of our lessons to her learning style. And one of the great things about homeschool is that you really can you can really, you know, mix and match what you need and piece together what you need to give your kids to help them learn in the way they need to learn.
Right. If she needs to go outside and take a second, she can go do that and come back in. And if you guys want to go take PE at 11 o'clock and 2 o'clock and 3, you know, like you get to be in charge of that, which is good for them. But you can support in just a different way. You know, as their mother, you do have more of that empathy to be able to see the needs. And again, I mean, the public school, right, the ratio is a lot different than what you have at home. So being able to have that 1 to 3 1 to 4, because then you're chasing the younger one, Claire,
Yeah.
around. But then you have the twins who are 5,
6. They'll be 7 this year.
7. So
they're first graders.
So figuring out too, right? They're in the same grade, but they may be in different learning stages.
Definitely.
In all different things.
Yep.
So when you look at, I mean, just the homeschool as a whole, I mean, do you feel like you're still, because we're about halfway through the year?
Those are like 2/3 of the way. Yeah.
Would you think that, you know, when you're getting into it, what did you not expect, and what are you kind of looking forward to as the year is coming to an end?
So I kind of really jumped into it quickly because it was a last minute decision because of our pending move to Spain. We decided so last minute to go ahead and do homeschool. I literally had 2 weeks to submit our notice to the school that we were going to be doing homeschooling. And I didn't even know that I had to do that. Like when I decided, it was like 2 weeks before school started, we decided we're doing homeschool. And then I had to research, what do I do to get started in homeschooling? Like I did not do any research beforehand. I didn't review any curriculum. I didn't decide like what style of homeschool, are we going to do? Like, and that all was kind of, I tend to do that. I tend to just kind of jump into things with both feet sometimes. And that's definitely what I did in this scenario. And I'm learning as we go.
And you brought the kids along with you.
Yeah,
You're
exactly.
like, we're just going on this trip together.
They're going to be so resilient. They're going to I just kind of fly by the seat of my pants. And that's really been an interesting part of this like deployment and homeschool piece together, is that, John is our structure. He's the one that keeps us like on the beat, moving from one thing to the next. And I'm sort of just like, la-di-da, I just like, my head's in the clouds most of the time. I'll, admit that. But yeah, it's been tough, I would say, to keep everyone on schedule, including myself. Like me being the leader of this shenanigans, I'm like, oh, right. I have to focus. I have to keep us on a schedule. I have to create a schedule. I have to like create a lesson plan sometimes. And I have to plan so far ahead, which I'm really not good at. That has been kind of surprising for me, how much actually goes into doing that. And that's a piece that I'm like just still not great at. So that's definitely been a learning process.
And so now where are the kids at? You talked about, where you guys started, kind of not knowing what curriculum, and then now you're kind of more on like a focused curriculum that you chose. And then will you try to ride that out through the remainder of the year?
Definitely. So we scrambled through the first half of the year probably with like pieced together curriculum. And it took me so long to research even the different curriculums that were available to us. There are so many. And for any like moms who are interested in homeschooling, like definitely do your research on curriculum before you start school. I'm sure that's so obvious to so many people, but me being me, just sort of just jumping headfirst into it. Like I wasn't aware of how long it was going to take me to do that research. So, I was still researching into the school year while they were already doing some curriculums. Like I just quickly ordered some random stuff that was available. I definitely did some amount of research, to see what there was out there. But it is like an overwhelming amount of resources available.
Right.
But there was one curriculum that so many people have suggested to me. It's called The Good and the Beautiful. And so when you homeschool, there's either secular or religious, kind of divided into those two categories sometimes. And I'm, me not being religious, I didn't want to go the religious route. So I was looking more for secular curriculums. But this one that we just picked up is actually like a religious one. And that, I think that's kind of why I shied away from it at first. But now that I've sort of looked into it more, it's not really jamming any religion like in your face.
Yeah.
It's, sort of like, it's like barely even there.
Sure.
So for me, anyway, it's a great curriculum, and it's all sort of, everything is there. You don't really have to do any lesson planning because once you order the materials, it's all laid out so nicely.
That's great.
Yeah. And that just kind of takes all the guesswork out of it. And just being that so many other moms that I've seen use that curriculum and enjoy it, I finally was like, that's it. I'm just going to go get it. I know the year is halfway done, but we're going to just jump in and see, how it goes. And I just got the books yesterday. So we had to kind of, last night after dinner, literally like 6:00 at night, I'm opening this box of curriculum. Like, what are we going to do tomorrow? And you do have to read through and like plan what you're going to do before the day starts. But it really was much less reading to actually get started on it.
Sure.
So
are you finding that like there's a community of other homeschooling moms? Like, how are you finding these references to like, maybe try this, maybe try that, or here's what we've done?
There's a huge community available. And homeschooling is definitely growing in popularity this year, especially. I mean, it's been probably since the pandemic is really when people started realizing, oh, this is an option, because all these kids had to go home and learn virtually. And all of these parents just decided like, hey, we're just going to homeschool. Like, we can do this. But I think I've heard of so many people that are pulling their kids out of school right now. I have a neighbor down the street from me who has 5 kids, and she just told me a couple weeks ago that she wants to pull her kids out of the school. And it's not that the school isn't good. We enjoy, the neighborhood school that we have available to us. And, I go back and forth with the decision because they actually are. I feel like they are missing out on a certain experience because I went to public school, and you did too.
Yeah.
So that's like all we know. That's the only way we know.
I feel like social media has made homeschooling look so fun. Like when I look at what are Trip and Josie going to do? I mean, the area that we're in, which is the same city that you're in, but not as nice of a school district. So we have to really consider, are we going to send them to public school, see how it goes? Or do we pay for some type of private school? Well, most of the private schools that we've looked into are looking at $20,000 a year. Well, I know that we can't afford $20,000 a year, and then we times that by 2 kids, and now we're looking at 40. I mean, that's a salary for someone. So as when I look at me working, I mean, we need my income. So how do we make that work? And so I do think it's a hot topic right now of what do you do? And I feel like it's honorable for you to just do it. You're like, screw it, we're doing it. And we ran with it, and you kept with it, because you could have gone the other route, right? And said like, hey, this isn't working. This is really hard. We're going to put the kids back in school. But you committed to it, and you're sticking with it. And I think that's amazing.
I mean, thank you. Maybe amazing, maybe stupid. We'll see at the end of the year.
Well, you get to decide.
Yeah, I did say, I had so many people asking me, well, like, since you didn't move, why don't you just put them back in school? And, John and I decided that we would just go ahead and give it the full year. Just go ahead and try for the full year to homeschool. And at the end of the year, we'll review and see, what our thoughts are in putting them back in the school. Because, yeah, it is an option. So I'm still, not 100% on the homeschool train. Like, we're doing it for this year. And I'm still assessing, like, am I doing enough to fill in the pieces that we're missing from public school? Because the number one sort of talked about thing with homeschooling is, are they getting socialized enough? That's what all the parents like
Where are
to
they
say, like,
socializing?
or you know, are you just keeping them in the house? Like, do they see friends? Are they gonna know how to? Are they gonna grow up to be weird?
Yeah.
That is not everybody's number one question. Like, are they gonna be weird?
It's so annoying.
Like, first of all, I don't care if my kids are weird. I'm weird.
Right.
Second of all, no, they're going to be fine. Because, you know, we go out, we see people all the time. We see you and your kids. Like,
You don't live under a rock.
no, we don't. And, you know, there's enough, we have enough neighbors. We see neighbors around all the time. They're in sports, they're in activities. And that has been another piece of homeschooling that has been super overwhelming for me is there's so many activities available to these kids. It's hard to, I have a hard time making decisions. I'm Libra. I like to weigh things just constantly. So I have a really hard time making decisions, and it's been super hard for me to just sort of pick and put them each in the right activity.
Well, then you're trying to figure out, well, what times? Well, we have to figure out the times when everyone can go because you have 4 kids. And when do you do that? When do you include all of that and then still be able to like have time to breathe?
Yeah. And then also each kid, you have to take into account each kid's different interests. And then once you do that, you're like, okay, you want to go in art, you want to go in cooking, and you want to play a sport. But now you're going to get signed up for a sport, and this one's going to be mad because they didn't get signed up for a sport, even though they wanted to do art. Kind of like when you're buying kids gifts for Christmas. When you have a baby and a toddler, a 4-year-old,
Yeah.
4-year-old,
and April 4th.
So you haven't had to have that battle yet.
Well, listen,
Christmas gift.
Well, maybe not gifts, but it's weird. I mean, I had baby cookies, like baby little fruit melt snacks that I was giving to Josie. And he was like, can I have a baby snack? And I said, buddy, like we have these snacks right here for you. And he said, but if Josie gets a baby snack, I would like a baby snack. And so I'm like, okay, well, what's a little baby cookie gonna hurt anyone? So I give it to him. But yeah, I mean, the little bit of attention that
sibling rivalry.
I didn't think it would start this early. Or the ripping of toys. Josie's touching this. It's okay.
Oh yeah, that sibling
okay.
rivalry is real.
So I mean, to kind of dive into that too. I mean, twins.
Yeah.
Talk about rivalry at the same time.
Oh yeah.
How beautiful has having twins been?
It's been insane. I never thought that would happen to me. Sometimes I still like have a hard time believing that I have twins. But it's such a special thing to live through. Like, how lucky am I that I got to have 2 babies at the same time? Like, it's number 1, insane, and number 2, like, so special. It's like just so surreal. You know, from the moment we found out that we were having twins, it was just really shocking for everybody, I think.
Because you and John had got together not too far.
We were not married yet. We had discussed it.
I forgot.
Yeah, it was about like a year and a half in. We had discussed getting married. We were both ready for it. But it was definitely not in our cards yet. We hadn't talked about having kids.
Wham bam too.
Right. Yeah. So not only like, hey, surprise, you're pregnant. No, it's, hey, you are having 2 babies at the same time. You're welcome. So
and
that
girls.
sound was fun. John was there for that, and everybody loves to know what was his response. You know, when you found out you were having twins, his first response, he was sitting there holding my hand, and he said, "We need a bigger car." That was his first thought.
I love that it went to car.
Okay, yeah, financial responsibility first. We're having twins. We need a bigger car.
But he was ready. He was ready the moment he found out. Like, let's start getting everything ready.
Yeah. Yeah. He likes things to stay lively. But yeah, it was insane, you know, laying there in the room getting the ultrasound. You know, we're like, okay, let's make sure we have a healthy baby, yada, yada. She comes, you know, puts the thing on, and she's like, okay, so what we're seeing here is there's 2. We were like, I was like, are you joking? Are you kidding? And she wasn't laughing. So I was like, oh.
And I didn't see it. I think they do that.
No way.
Right?
No.
Like,
can you imagine if that was you and they're like, you're having 2? And you're like,
well, I just like imagine some like sarcastic tech that's like, you get 2.
yeah.
Just kidding, you have 1. See, life is going to be better. It's fine. And you're like, what in the hell just happened?
What a roller coaster.
See, I just wanted to make you feel better. You only have 1.
Yeah, it's only 1 baby. So yeah, that, I mean, just from the moment we found out, it was just like full speed ahead.
Mm-hmm.
Twin pregnancy is not a walk in the park. I'll tell you that. That was an experience. But you know, it was just so fun having 2 babies at once. I was like, it's like 2 angels.
Mm-hmm.
I just most days couldn't believe it.
Now, did you do like matching outfits? Were you, because they're not identical.
They're not. They're so far from identical. It's not even, like, people don't even know they're sisters. It's insane. They were in the same class last year in school, and most of the other students in their class didn't even know that they were sisters.
Oh, really?
Yeah. The teacher told me about that after school one day. She was like, most of the students found out that they're sisters today, and they did not believe it.
What?
But yeah, I mean, I have Maddie, she's got like similar to my hair, long, straight, you know, and then Nora with the wild blonde curly hair.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, one's a little thicker and the other one's like very thin and dainty. But not only just their looks, but their personalities are completely opposite from each other. And so, yeah, you asked if I like matched them or anything. I kind of like would give them complimentary outfits. So like not like totally matchy,
Mm-hmm.
even though my mom did like to buy matching outfits for them. Like she was vicariously living through me, you know, dressing my twins. But I would mostly do like, you know, complimentary outfits.
Because I feel like that's like the thing. It's like, oh, twins, they have to wear the same things and no one can guess them apart. Or like maybe because it's cute and you got like, or it's easier, right? And then because when they get older, well, she's wearing purple, I want pink. Like when do they start giving their own opinions on like, well, I don't want to wear exactly what sister's wearing?
Yeah, they have their color of choice. Maddie's a purple girl and Nora's a pink girl. So that's kind of how we differentiate like what things are each one of theirs. Like this is purple, it must be Maddie's. Like this is pink, it's got to be for Nora. But yeah, they do share a room, so that kind of, we're still like, they try to express their own, you know, personalities where they can, but they do share a lot of things. So you know, just growing up, I think they'll express their personalities in different ways, and we'll see how
do you notice any twin like behavior? I feel like people may say like, oh, well, like when they get older, like I could read my sister's, you know, mind because we're part each other. Yeah. Are you at the age?
Nothing. They don't. Nope.
They're just their own.
No. And it's, you know, when I saw something really recently that was explaining what different kinds of twins there are, because there's identical and there's fraternal, and mine are fraternal since they look nothing alike. And someone described it as, if you have fraternal twins, it's basically like you have 2 pregnancies at the same time. So that's why they don't look anything alike. They're just literally sisters who were born at the same time.
Just hanging out.
Yeah.
Growing.
They were roommates.
Yeah, roommates. I like a roommate. That kind of brings me back. Oh man, a little PTSD. I struggle with my R's. So now I'm thinking roommate.
This is an exception. You can use.
So I feel like we're still somewhat in not really newborn trenches. Josie's about to be 8 months, and she, let's just knock on wood, sleeping pretty good so far. Hasn't started teething, so that will come. But I imagine, I mean, 2 kids at once, like, do you even remember, or has that been like erased from memory? Like having 2 kids, those newborn stages, I give so much kudos to friends. And I think starting this podcast, I never realized how many twin moms that I know. So like I'm looking on social media and I'm like, it's, you know, when you buy a car and you're like, no one has this car. And then you start seeing your car everywhere. I feel like I knew you were coming on the podcast and I was so excited to hear about twins and more about like twin life and what does that look like. And so I swear my social media was like twins, twins, twins. And so then more of my friends who have twins were popping up and I'm thinking about, okay, I know that my struggle in whatever situation is relative to me, but they have to do it with two. Like, how was that?
I mean, it's sort of similar to just having one. You just kind of don't know what you're doing from the start, and you learn as you go, and you don't have a choice. So you're forced to adapt, So with twins, it's the same way. You just have to make it work. You find ways to make it work. So I nursed them until they were 8 months old. That was probably like the most interesting part, figuring out how do you nurse two babies at the same time, and what kind of schedule is that going to be, and then, also the sleep schedule.
Can I just pause? Congrats on 8 months
Thank
of
you.
feeding those precious babies.
Thanks.
Like it's so hard. It's so hard, and that's a whole nother journey of no one really prepares you. I mean, I saw a lactation consultant for maybe 5 minutes with my first pregnancy. Oh, he's latching. Great. You're doing a good job, mama. I'll see you later. And then, fast forward and I had to have all these, had all these complications. And
Yeah.
so it's not as easy. So, I mean, 8 months is amazing.
Yeah. You just kind of really never know what you're doing until you sort of just are in the trenches. Like you would just have to figure it out as you go. And I mean, luckily there's such a network of women, just moms who have been through it already. And you can just reach out and get information from moms who have been there, which is why this podcast is great because, you're out here putting out this information, welcoming other women to, hear these discussions and sort of start their own discussions and, figure out how to go through this stuff together. But yeah, nursing is really a whole journey that you don't understand until you're in it. There's no amount of research that you can do that prepares you for actually doing the thing.
No. Well, because each person is so different. Each baby is so different. So I had so many amazing friends that I could call and text to say, hey, what's going on? I mean, I remember one time I was FaceTiming with one of my friends and she just looked at me and said, look at your boobs right now, go pump. And I said, how did you know? How did you know I needed to go pump? And she was like, because they look like porn star boobs. Please go pump before something bad happens. Yeah. And so I immediately hung up the phone, went and pumped and was like, okay, this is good.
Yeah.
Like, okay, I got to figure this out. And you do. And again, some people, they have good latches. They know what they're doing. And I think the most frustrating thing in the beginning was it shouldn't have pain. There should be no pain. And I remember walking around with my shirt off for a week. Like, please no visitors. Like my poor nipples were so raw. And I was determined, and I wanted it. I wanted to breastfeed. So, that journey for me ended up ending somewhat short after a month. But with Josie, I've been able to exclusively pump for 8 months. So that's been wild.
Yeah.
But, so when you were breastfeeding with the twins, you exclusively breastfed, right? Like, were you doing any pumping? How did
I did not do any pumping. I don't think we supplemented with formula. See, I can't remember this part because it was kind of just like just a whirlwind. I'm trying to remember. I think that I did exclusively breastfeed until like around 8 months. I just reached a point where I was like, my hormones are so out of whack. Like I can feel the anxiety coming on, especially when I was losing sleep at night. Just after that long of doing it, I was like, I could feel myself sort of hitting those postpartum hormones. And I was like, okay, I think that it's time to transition them onto bottles, because that postpartum is no joke. So yeah, I think I just exclusively breastfed up until then, which, I'm lucky that I had John's help or I would have never been able to do that.
how, like, did you guys have like a conversation to say like, all right, this is the game plan before, we release to the game? Like how did you guys know what kind of whose roles? Like, did you guys identify roles for each other?
Not necessarily. With him, he's sort of just always so supportive. He really is willing to he's just always right there, like just waiting to jump in when I need him. And he really kind of lets me, set the pace or determine like how things are going to go. And if he has an opinion, like insert opinion, we bounce it off of each other. And then we sort of just feel the situation out and see what works best for us.
Mm-hmm.
And he's just really supportive in that. So he would get up with me at nights because how do you get two babies out of a crib and latch them on at the same, like by yourself? Like he would have to get up and do, and I don't know what other twin moms do, but that's what we had to do. And we had this special, pillow that's like a rainbow shape.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously there's that pillow.
So not like the boppy.
It's not a boppy.
Okay.
It's like a different one. It's like a memory foam pillow that's like flat on top. And the babies can like really lay on that and really hold them.
Yeah.
But you could strap it on around your back.
Yes. Why am I blanking with
that? That was a lifesaver. That was like the key thing to have.
Just because it gave them that support.
There's no other way. Like I would have been able to, just shove like pillows up everywhere. Like trying to do it all yourself would just be crazy.
I think it's called my breast friend.
That's it. I think you're right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I had a friend gift me that. Shout out Emily. Thank you. I remember she gave me that. And she also said that was very life-changing for her breastfeeding journey. I did try it. For some reason, it worked sometimes. And then my breastfeeding journey kind of ended in terms of like her actually feeding from the breast. So I did not end up using it for a long period of time. But a lot of people I've heard like that helps. So, I mean, times it by two.
Yeah.
Because your arms, right? Footballs, if you're trying to like,
how do you hold two babies up and like be able to like, how hard it is to reach anything while you're nursing one baby, right? Like, oh shit, like I left the remote all the way over there. Like, what am my phone's over there. My water's in the other room. What am I going to do? But now it's like you have two babies and no arms. So yeah, that was fun to learn.
Yeah. And then, so John, you said, kind of helped out with that and really was there. How has, the military right now, he's deployed, like how has kind of that military piece played in? I guess he was deployed or hasn't been deployed before.
Mm-hmm.
So when he was here, was it pretty standard kind of like 9 to 5, or were you still experiencing, military effects? I don't know if that's the right terminology, but right, like to have them have to go and do certain things and maybe not know what's to come next week, or maybe he has to go out on a ship for X amount of times and you're still kind of left to the unknown.
Yeah.
How has, what has that been like for you to raise kids and be a part of, kind of that military community?
Yeah. So luckily, like I said, we've been very fortunate. He has not been deployed until now. In our relationships. Yes. And we've been together for 7 years now. It's 7. Going on 8. And he's been home the whole time. Sorry, military moms. I hate saying that out loud. People are like, I don't feel sorry for you for this deployment. So yeah, he's been home. He's avoided deployments somehow. But no, you don't really ever have a like normal schedule when they're in the military because, I guess when he's been on shore duty, it's been a little more normal. But there would be times when he was in certain positions where he would just go, from working 7 in the morning till 2 in the afternoon, like a super short, lazy, relaxed day. And, me getting spoiled by that schedule to like, oh, all of a sudden now you have to work. You're in charge of whatever division and you have to work until, 6, 7 o'clock at night. And people are calling you around the clock, even when you're not at work. So that's, what I was kind of used to. And then once he got on sea duty, this past year, he was just basically he's been underway for the past year, just going out on training here and there, 2 weeks at a time, home for a week, gone for a month, home for 2 weeks. And then, at the last minute, we were supposed to be moving to Spain. And then at the last minute, that all changed. I mean, we literally had our move scheduled. We had our pack scheduled and then moved that a month later. And then that one got canceled due to some changes. And we decided it would not be best for us to all move to Spain together because he's actually coming back here now. Yay. So he'll be back in May. But it's definitely been a new challenge for me having him gone.
I mean, how could it not be?
Yeah. And I knew it was coming, all along we knew it was coming when we were deciding, do we have another kid? Like,
I was considering 5.
No. Just the 4th one. We're never having another kid. Let me make that very clear right now.
I was like, wait, I thought we were stopping at 4. And I say we, like I was going to be a part of this. I mean, I was going to be there to support you, but, and I know John,
please don't support me in that decision.
And I know John wants his boy, but, and watching him with 4 girls too, and with Claire, I mean, he's just like, this is my sidekick. Like, I don't think I've seen someone more overprotective. Like, he loves all his girls, don't get me wrong, but like, he's like, she's my buddy.
That's mine.
Yeah.
My baby.
And I'd like to think we don't have favorites, but I don't know, John.
Let actions speak for themselves.
Yeah.
I mean, I think he kind of knew what was coming, this deployment, and she's the last baby. And both of us, I mean, can we talk about the last baby, feelings?
Sad.
Yeah. And I mean, so Claire's the last one. She's the baby, you have to hold on to that, every piece of that you can. And he knew he was going to be, shipping off most of the year. And so I'm sure that, sort of played into his bond with her.
Yeah.
But I actually, going back to the nursing aspect of things, I didn't nurse Claire.
Okay.
And I didn't pump. We went exclusively formula with her, which was crazy because that was during a formula shortage. So not our best decision ever, but we made it.
And so you knew from the get-go, you were like, hey, when she comes, I don't want to try. We want to just go straight to formula.
So I didn't know that until she was here. So,
because remember, you just jump right in, just 2.
Yeah. Sometimes I take a long time to make a decision, and then once I hit that point, I'm like, nope, we're doing it. This is it. But with her, it was sort of like I did want to try, and then once I realized how crazy it was going to be having 4 kids, or so the 3 plus a newborn, I've struggled through breastfeeding with hormones a lot. And I knew that it was going to be hard on me and my hormones, having 3 kids, nursing a newborn, having a baby attached to me, on a schedule around the clock, and trying to manage twin toddlers and, the older kid. I just decided that was going to be, this may be selfish for me, but I decided that was too much and that was not going to work for our family. And there are so many moms who never are, for whatever reasons, whether they're not able to or whether they decide not to, don't breastfeed. And everybody turns out just fine.
Yeah.
It's just do what's best for your family. And that was what worked for our family at the time. And I don't, I would say I don't have any regrets. It was a little bit hard for me, that we didn't have that bond, because breastfeeding is definitely a real bonding thing. So she and I never really had that bond. And going back to, the thing about John is, I think that's how he really bonded with her, because he was helping, he was doing a lot of the feedings.
Right.
It was just bottle fed, but he definitely bonded with her pretty instantly.
I always find it interesting too, how we bond with our kids and how that really changes, over the years and what they want. And there's a lot of pressure, social media, on yourself. A lot of it, I feel like, is on ourselves because, no one really, it's a question, right? Oh, are you breastfeeding, right? Because I feel like we've made it that initial question of like, oh, how's your baby doing? Good. Is it breastfeed or formula? It's like, why? Why does it matter how I'm feeding my kid?
Yeah.
You don't ask me like, so what'd you eat for breakfast, lunch, and dinner today?
Yeah.
Like, where's your protein?
Yeah.
Like, look, fed is best. I believe that to be true. And also you have to know mentally what is going to be okay for you. And maybe you don't know until you get into it. I think for me, there's definitely that pressure of breastfeeding right now for myself. It's like kind of this weird, I don't want to say competition, but like I'm really competitive. And I keep giving myself a deadline, if you will, of like, just, I want to make it one more month. And they're ambitious goals. And I'm like really proud of myself when I get there. But along the way, it's really hard. And mornings are really hard right now because although the kids are sleeping for most of the nights, there's ups and downs, and they're never really like a full night of sleep has not happened in a while. And then I have to pump before Josie wakes up. Well, sometimes I'm pumping while she's screaming because she wants her milk. And so then all of a sudden now I'm sitting here for about 15 minutes pumping because I can't beat her to the clock. Because we all know when you say that you're going to wake up an hour early before your kids wake up, I'll be damned if they didn't have their alarm clock right there with you.
Yeah.
Because then she starts to, and then Trip, who has been a 8 o'clock waker, it's like 6:45. Mommy, Mom. I'm like, oh, hell no. And Rob's out the door because he has to be at the school by about 7 o'clock. So I'm just sitting here listening to screaming.
Just feeling helpless.
And I'm like, I'll be there soon. And so it's like, there's moments there where I'm like, man, it would be really nice if I could just get up, pour some formula in a bottle and just go. And then like mentally I would be okay and she would get her bottle quicker. But she's also done so well on breast milk. And again, it's like, nothing in life within reason. Like if my mental health was like really struggling, then I would have no problem really working through like, hey, like, let's stop this. It's just like the situations that cause anxiety. And that's like, it's kind of through the day. And then I'm working and I still have to pump. And I'm like, oh shit, I like, here's a meeting I scheduled during my pump time.
Yep.
So there's so much that goes into it that you never really realize until you're in the thick of it.
Yeah.
And washing bottles and washing pump parts.
Pumping is a whole different beast. I commend you for doing that because like I said, I decided not to do that with Claire because again, you're tied to a schedule. You really are. And like I said, kudos to you for doing that because that is hard work. And like you're missing also that bond of breastfeeding, but you're committed to doing that for your baby.
Yeah.
To give her like the nutrition. And like, I think that's like such a beautiful thing for a mom to do for their baby. So yeah.
Well, forward, I'd be lying if I'm not counting down the months. So I've already come to terms that at a year, I'm okay. I do have a freezer stash, ish, a mini freezer. So she'll have some milk. I would love to wean down at like 11 months and then be ready for the summer with no pump parts. So we'll see how that goes. But man, breastfeeding and it's like all the feelings.
Yeah, it's a lot.
And you talked about hormones and like what that does to us. It's one of those things that our partner or the people that we are with, like no one else is truly experiencing those feelings. And when I heard something the other day where it's like, we need to stop identifying and labeling ourselves as like anxious people. Because if we do that, then every situation is going to be anxiety ridden versus that situation caused anxiety. So like I really try to change my perception on like, I am not like entirely an anxious person, but there are identified situations that cause me anxiety. And I think now that like I am starting to really be mindful and intentional about what are those things that are causing anxiety, then I can try to, you know, do better at managing that.
Yeah, or you can be aware of what's going to trigger you.
Right.
To have an anxiety attack, or, you know, um,
Thanks, Gunning.
protecting us from the school kids,
right? Yeah,
on the bus. But yeah,
did you, you know, when you think of like the hormones or the things that you kind of experienced, are any of those things that you know, like you're comfortable sharing, or that you feel like I've been able to overcome these things?
I feel like postpartum, you know, depression could be a whole episode. You might have to invite me back for that.
Okay. All right. Yeah.
Because that's a huge thing, and I definitely went through that with Camilla. You know, that was a single parenting through a different relationship, through a divorce. Yeah, so I definitely had a lot of postpartum with her. It wasn't bad with the twins at all, because, you know, I had a really supportive partner, and that helped. And I was also in a very different place mentally in my life, you know, through that. But yeah, going through postpartum, you know, hormones is wild. You know, you really don't know what to expect. It's different for every person. And, you know, depending on your baby too, like it depends on your, you know, what you're going through, what you're living through, that whole experience. But yeah, your hormones, it takes so long for your hormones to regulate, especially if you're breastfeeding, or pumping. You don't get your hormones back to normal until you're done with that.
All right.
But yeah, otherwise, besides postpartum,
And like, were there noticeable? Because like, I know my experience is, you know, what I know of like what postpartum looked like for me. And like some of it, I just thought that it was like normal, right? Like this is just, I didn't identify it as like postpartum depression. It was like, this is just who I am. Like, I am very moody now, or I'm very anxious, or my baby's gonna fall out of this car seat and die for no reason, right? But she's strapped in tight and we're all safe and sound. But it's like those thoughts, those intrusive thoughts were like really bad, and still like me having to work through those things. I remember just thinking about the simplest of tasks. It didn't matter if we were just grocery shopping. It's like, oh, well, we're gonna walk in and someone's just gonna run their car right over us. I'm like,
intrusive thoughts.
What? I'm like, it's gone. Like, that is not reality. Or we wanted to go on a camping trip, and I remember, I think Josie was maybe 3 months old, and it wasn't like true camping. It was kind of like glamping. Like, there was a tent, and like raised, there was queen size bed, but it was like a safari tent. And like, again, the thoughts, like, as we were getting closer to going to the trip, was like, well, she can't, like, I was diving down a rabbit hole of like, what if she inhales any of the smoke from the campfire? Like, we cannot go. Like, she is gonna die. And I'm like, this is so like, but I just, again, I think it's like the labeling, you know, where I was like, no, I'm not depressed. Like, I'm fine. I can still work. I can do those things. But I'm like, no, this is a part of the postpartum kind of depression pieces. You know, I don't think depression is just, I'm in my bed, I can't get out. You know, all these other little things that we're experiencing. And I mean, like rapid heart rate out of nowhere. I'm like, whoa, okay, and I'm back. So like those have been things that like I'm, you know, still working through while, you know, Josie's young and I'm still breastfeeding, and trying to explain those to my partner, because again, they can't feel it. They just see me kind of walking around and I'm in a mood. But to me, I'm like processing all these things.
Yeah. And I mean, it looks so different for every person. You know, for me with my oldest, I had all of the symptoms. Like, I knew I was going through it, because I was also like, I have anxiety and depression. I'm on Zoloft. So clinically diagnosed with that already. And then, like the hormones, the postpartum hormones on top of that, I wasn't diagnosed at that time, but I was in therapy from my relationship that I was getting a divorce, my marriage that I was getting a divorce from. So I was really going through it. And then on top of that, she had what, pediatricians like to call colic. And I have my thoughts about that word. But colic is really just any
Can we dive into that?
Colic is any undiagnosable symptom that you can't, cure your baby from technically. So it's just like a blanket term for we don't know what's wrong with your baby. She's got colic.
So ride it out.
Could be up to a year colic, right? She was inconsolable. I was already going through it, and then she didn't sleep well. So I'm sure, most people know this, but if you lose a certain amount of sleep, it can start to cause insanity. Literally, scientifically, you will start to experience insanity if you don't get enough sleep. And so I was single parenting, had this baby with colic, had anxiety and depression myself, going through a terrible divorce all at the same time. All of the things were coming down on me. I could not get a grip. It was terrible. And one of the hardest times, probably the worst time of my entire life, that experience. And if you really want me to expand on it, I could go on for a long time about what I was going through. But yeah, it's really hard and something that you don't know how to go through. Some people, you don't even know that you're experiencing it, just like you said. Until maybe somebody else points it out to you. Or, sometimes doctors will check in on you when you're at an appointment to, you have to do a survey. They don't always catch it. You can hide it. You can kind of hide it if you want to.
I remember taking one of those surveys with Trip, and it was right after my dad had passed away because I was about 7 months pregnant when my dad passed away. And I remember going in and they're like, we just have to do this depression scale. And it's like, have you cried today? Yes. Have you cried for numerous days? Yes. Have you cried all week? Yes. Are you depressed? No. Right. And these are my answers because I'm like, no, I'm not depressed. This is just what's going on. Yeah. And did they do anything? No, nothing. Not that I don't know if I would have really come to terms that I was processing, but I was grieving and getting ready for a baby. So that, what did that piece of paper really do?
Yeah.
And maybe for some it saved them, which is amazing. I hope that doctors really look at that and take it seriously because, with social media right now, seeing how many moms are self-harming them or their babies because of psychosis. And just, I think it's hard to be a mom, and to be a mom alone. I don't have that experience. And I, think about how can I help a mom, and, not that this is going to put a roof over anyone's head or anything like that. But, when I look at mom Facebook groups, most of it is resources. They're looking for resources. They're looking for someone to talk to because they have nobody in this area. And it's hard. So, you talked about you don't realize you're in it sometimes. Did you realize you were in it? What broke? How did you get out from under the worst time of your life?
So, wow. Do I want to go back here? The piece that actually finally solved all of that for me was when I was finished breastfeeding. My hormones, really quickly, flip-flopped. And that was the beginning of me healing from that. But I was breastfeeding her until she was 15 months. So that was, a year and a couple months of her life that I was experiencing postpartum depression symptoms. And it was, I don't even know how to put it into words, what I was going through. And yes, I think I did know that I was experiencing that. And like I said, I was in therapy. And my counselor, she had asked me, she and I had talked about it, and she knew what was going on sort of to a degree, because you don't have to tell them everything. Everybody knows that. But, she asked me if I wanted to go on medication, and I did not, because, a whole nother story of my childhood, the dad I grew up with, addicted to medication. So that was something that I was not willing to do. For most of my life, I avoided any and all medication if I could. So, I was sort of ashamed. I didn't want to be on medication. And I thought, I can do this myself. I can go through this myself. I'll make it. I'll be just fine. And, I did make it out the other side, but there's definitely some really dark times that I went through that I don't like thinking about.
Yeah.
It was a really dark, lonely, scary place to be.
And then when you look at where your life is now, I mean, you went through it, but you have this now to see your girls and John and what you've created through all of those experiences. I mean, you're such like an inspiration to, I told myself that I was going to need tissues.
No.
No. Just to do the hard things.
Thank you.
And I think to be able to have friends to lean on, to like, we take that for granted, especially when I see, all these posts about moms who don't have anyone. And I can't imagine having to go to a page sometimes to look for that support. I mean, I can pick up my phone, I can text someone. So, to be able to see those things that, are so traumatic sometimes, for you to come out on the other side, such a beautiful person and beautiful friend and mom and wife, and, going through your entrepreneur pieces of life. I mean, if you need flowers, Lauren is your person. Like that's fun to watch. And I think it's inspiring to other people too, to be able to see all of those things that you're doing, whether you recognize them or not. I hope you do.
Thank you. Yeah, a lot of times I think I don't, because I'm just, just like you, like we're just living through all this. And especially right now, I'm in survival mode, going through deployment and like the homeschooling stuff. So I do have to really stop and remind myself sometimes, like, you've been in some really shady places and look at where you are now. Like, there was a day that you dreamed of this, and look at you now. Like, you got this, and, you can get out of those bad situations. You can turn it around, and like, it's not overnight. It doesn't happen overnight. You really have to fight through it, I think. But yeah, I do really feel lucky for where things are now.
Yeah. That's amazing.
Thanks.
Well, Lauren, I'm so blessed to have a friend like you and to be able to come on here and talk and share your experience as not only a mom to 4 kids, 2 twins, military mom. Thank you so much for coming and hanging out with me today.
Anytime. I mean, I would come over and talk to you any day, you know that. And so I'm so thankful to have you also. I was just thinking about, it's been what, 6 years since we met?
Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, you're an awesome friend. I'm happy to have you.
Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
Cheers.
Yeah. Cheers.
Come hang out with me on Instagram at Hustle and Healing Podcast for more real talk, laughs, and support. You can also catch the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube. So be sure to subscribe, follow, and leave a review if you're loving what you hear. And do me a favor, share this episode with a fellow mom who needs to hear it. Keep hustling, keep healing, and don't forget to reheat that coffee. Again, see you next time.